RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
A successful launch for NASA's Artemis II mission. 4 astronauts are now in Earth's orbit as they embark on a history-making journey around the moon. And here this morning with updates on the mission's first 24 hours is Director of NASA's Space Weather Program, Dr. Jamie Favors. Dr. Favors, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Oh, this was so exciting. I watched this with my family and my kids yesterday. They were all pumped for it. It's been nearly 18 hours since liftoff of yesterday's launch. Had no major issues, but we did hear that there were some toilet troubles that have since been resolved. You always want to get the toilets figured out. Can you tell us anything about that and if there have been any other hiccups along the way?
Yeah, so far the mission's gone really well. We had a gorgeous launch yesterday afternoon here on the Space Coast. So if you haven't made it out, bring your family next time. That way you don't have to watch it on TV. You can actually feel it in person. So the launch went really well. We got into space. The crew made their first orbit of the Earth in roughly about the first 90 minutes after launch. Like you mentioned, they moved into a little bit higher orbit. They continue to orbit around the Earth right now. Run into a couple issues. Kudos on Christina who fixed the toilet. Obviously, a 10-day mission with no toilet would have been trouble for everyone, but they took care of that right away. Again, this is a test flight. This is the first time we've had crew in this vehicle in space, so they're testing out all sorts of things, kind of running through that system and the subsystems throughout the entire spacecraft to make sure it works exactly the way we expect to and where it doesn't fix those kind of problems.
For the astronauts up there, I'm sure Mission Control has been in contact with them. What has this been like for them so far? I'm sure it's been pretty exciting and pretty spectacular up there as they round Earth.
Yeah, I think they've definitely had their enjoyable moment. You can hear it in their voice as they talk through things. While at the same time, they're very busy. They've had a couple of sleep sessions right now. They maybe are coming out of their second one right now, getting ready for a really big event later today. As they've continued to orbit the Earth since launch, there's the big decision later this afternoon and into this evening will be to do a thing, what we call a TLI, trans-lunar injection. And that's actually where they turn the engines on and send the spacecraft out to the moon. So that'll be a big decision later today. The crew will be hard at work getting ready for that and actually be piloting through that mission.
It's kind of like a slingshot up to the moon. So what are the goals here on this 10-day test flight? What are they hoping to learn on their way to the moon and then as they kind of make it around the moon?
Yeah, so there are quite a few different things that you mentioned with the test mission here. We're testing out those systems, kind of making sure the environmental controls are working exactly as we expect. Any of the other systems and subsystems throughout the spacecraft. We'll be doing a lot of the manual maneuvering that we're not able to do on the first Artemis mission because there was not crew on board. So Victor, our pilot, will be kind of running through the paces on that maneuvering at some point during the mission as well. There's also a lot of really exciting science we're able to do as the crew gets on the far side of the moon and actually able to see the surface. They'll be doing a lot of visible geology actually from lunar orbit as they go around, seeing some of the places that we may be landing crew very soon in the next couple of years. So they'll be making some of those measurements, looking for spots of interest, as well as looking at the south pole of the moon. And that's where NASA's particularly interested right now.
It's just so cool. Now, the next mission, Artemis III, that'll test the lunar landers in low Earth orbit. How does this test prepare for Artemis IV, which will be hopefully the first crewed landing on the lunar surface?
Yes, I think very similar to the Apollo missions where each one was testing out a little bit different part of the architecture to make that eventual Apollo 11 landing successful. This is exactly what we're going through right now. So testing out the crew module, getting ready for Artemis III to test out the lunar landers, hopefully both of them in space to do some of the docking, similar to what we did with Apollo 9, to test out all these maneuvers in space rather than doing them all at once, actually kind of do the stair step into that eventual landing for Artemis IV in a couple of years.
You know, my kids were wondering, if you have a telescope or even with the human eye, over the next, I guess, 24 hours here, once the sun goes down, if you have a clear night, can you see, would you potentially be able to see this going up toward the moon at all?
So I'm not sure we'd be able to see the spacecraft, but if they do go outside, make sure you wave because I know the crew's looking back at her, so hopefully they'll be able to see them later.
All right, that's great. You know, we know a lot more about space weather now than we did during the Apollo program. Can you talk about how NASA will monitor some of these solar storms, keep astronauts safe?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a lot of space weather. I think people become more familiar in the last couple of years. We've had some bigger solar storms here at Earth. Many people being able to see aurora. Hopefully in Seattle, we're able to see it a little bit as well. But it's still a pretty new science in many ways. It's only a couple of decades old compared to the way we predict snowstorms or hurricanes here on Earth that we've been doing for so many decades. But there's very similar aspects. We have spacecraft in space that are monitoring the sun all the time, monitoring the space environment. We build models to be able to predict the system. So very similar kind of processes that we're used to for understanding in Seattle. Do I get my umbrella today or do I need sunscreen? The same kind of thing that now as we have crew in deep space, we can give them that situational awareness to know, hey, the environment is totally fine. You're totally fine to kind of keep on your normal operations. Or, hey, we just had a big event. We think it's heading towards Earth. We need to start getting prepared now to kind of keep you safe if that does reach us.
I know that it's still a few years away, but has the landing spot been picked for the astronauts in Artemis 4 yet?
So I don't think a final selection has been made or announced at this point, but I suspect over the course of the next couple of years, that will be very exciting news to share with the whole world.
Oh, this is so cool, and it's going to be really interesting to watch this trip around the moon and watch it with all of you. And yeah, Godspeed to the astronauts up there. Dr. Jamie Favors with NASA. Thank you so much for the updates this morning. We love it.
Thank you all.
All right, and we'll be right back.